Hey, babe, I'm Brooke Jean, licensed therapist, coach, mama, and your straight talking guide to ditching the pressure and living a life unperfected. I've coached some of the top C-suite women in America, women leading million-dollar companies while secretly falling apart. I've been her. I blend psychology, neuroscience, and energetics with lived experience to help high-achieving women actually heal so that they can access their limitless energy, creativity, and vitality. So if you're a perfection-obsessed woman who's checked every damn box, career, family, house, 401k, but still feels low-key dead inside, you're in the right place. Here, we rip off the good girl mask, call out the BS, and build a life that actually feels like yours. We're talking healing, we talk revealing, we talk rising, and we do it raw, real, and unfiltered. Hello, beautiful mama. Brooke Jean here. I'm your host, and I'm so happy and grateful that you're here. And before we get into today's conversation, first, I just want to name that I am at the end of a cold. So I do, in fact, sound more nasally and like a dude than I normally do. Okay? My baseline octaves they run a little nasally and manly as is, but when your girl is stuffed up, it's like it hits a new level. So I'm gonna thank you in advance for listening even when I have a voice like this. I love you and appreciate you so much. And speaking of appreciation, you guys, I just want to celebrate something with you. When I set out to do this podcast, it really was with the intention of if I could help one woman or mother feel less alone, give herself a break, learn a coping mechanism, laugh a little, understand that like everyone has stuff in their closet and we're all hiding it, then I have done my job here. It's a way to express myself because I love to talk. I love to joke. I love to teach. If you guys know human design, I'm a 5-1 generator. So I love to learn. I love to teach. I love to make people laugh. I love to inform. I love to coach. I love to heal. And I love to process my own stuff in real time. And so this podcast was really a way for me to do all of that. But I had this beautiful intention of one woman at a time, coming home to herself, turning the lights on, and having that change how she walks through the world. And you guys, the Unperfected Pod is in the top 2.5% of podcasts world freaking wide. And I'm just realizing right now I need one of those sound machines that like I could click a button and it would go, hey, yay. I am so grateful because what that means to me, because I don't really give a shit about vanity numbers. You know, I don't think it's about quantity. I think it's about quality. What that means to me is that people are getting something from the show and they're liking the show and they're sharing with another mom who's struggling and they're following it. And like, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this unperfected movement. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy life to listen to this show and to leave a review and to like it and subscribe to it and share it. The other day, I just had a mama who was sending the podcast to her sister, but she accidentally sent it to me. And when I tell you, that made my whole week. That made my whole week. If a mother is sending another mother my show to help them, y'all, I will never quit on this project because one woman at a time, coming home to the truth of who she is and healing the parts of her that are holding her back to reveal her bigness and her beauty and her infinite potential so that she can rise into that. Like, this is how we actually make an impact. It doesn't have to be millions and millions of people. It gets to be one beautiful mama or woman at a time. And so I genuinely want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. Like, this means everything to me. And I've been doing this show in February will actually be 3 years. It's probably been the most consistent thing I've ever done in my entire life. And so, thank you for being here. Please continue to rate and review and share the show. I just feel like if you heal mother, you heal the planet. That's genuinely what I believe in my spirit. So, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I am freaking grateful. So when I start every show with, I'm so happy and grateful that you're here, that's like for reals, reals. That's realsies, honey. That's not just me being cute. That's real. Thank you for being here. Dun dun dun. What else do I want to say? In our family, we're getting ready for trunk or treat tonight. So thank God mama's feeling better before the festivities begin, because what would happen? What would happen in the world if moms weren't well for the magic? I'll tell you, actually, the magic would freaking die, wouldn't it? There is no Halloween without moms. There is no Christmas. There is no Hanukkah. There is no Easter Bunny. There is no anything without moms. We are the magic and miracle makers. And sometimes we need to remember that. Ooh, that's actually reminding me, you guys, earlier on in the show, I recorded a pep talk for moms where I just remind you and mirror for you that you are the magic and miracle maker. So if you're ever having one of those days where you're not feeling like you feel like no matter what you do, it's not enough, and there's always something that's failing, go back and listen to that episode, because it's me telling you for 10 or 15 minutes the truth about who you are. And sometimes we need to hear that, right? Sometimes we need to hear that. So, okay, so today, you guys, I wanted to get into the unperfected method, because there's so many different things that I talk about online on this podcast and on my social media. And sometimes it might feel like, where is she going with this? Or is she a coach, or is she a counselor? Or like, what is she actually doing? So I thought it would be helpful to share with you guys the method that I created after A, being a leader for 10 years, B, being a mother for 22 years, and C, being a therapist and coach for an additional 10 years. 30 years of studying people and really looking at what is the suffering, how do we overcome it, and how do we actually create lives we love? Because it can't just be a fun to have. It can't just be for some people. It needs to be for all. And so I have carefully constructed this method, and I want to just pour it all out on the table here so you can take a piece and begin your own process. And so I want to start with why I created the unperfected method. And it was because the second that I hit middle age and I had done all the things that the world told me to do to be a quote unquote success, or a quote unquote good girl, or a quote unquote perfect mom, wife, leader, fill in the blank. I had done all the things. And at the end of the day, I felt really empty, really dissatisfied, unfulfilled. And because of that, I was falling into coping mechanisms that were not healthy for me, which was making me even more miserable. And so I realized, man, a major source of my suffering is me not living in alignment with my truth, the truth of who I am, the truth of what I desire, the truth of what my gifts are. I was following the path to success, right? I got the college degree. I got the corporate job. I worked my fanny off. I climbed the corporate ladder. I bought the house. I bought the cars. I had the 401k, the 529. I had all the things, vacations that society told me would make me arrive at some point, and I was not happy. And it wasn't my husband's fault. It wasn't my kids' fault. It wasn't my mother or father's fault. It was I just became what I thought the world, I became what I thought would keep me safe. And P.S., I don't have a single regret in my life. And so this work that I teach to you guys, it's not about regretting anything. It's not about blaming. It's about taking personal responsibility for our lives, our happiness, our outcomes, and doing the work, inner work, to create an external environment that lights us up a little. Okay? So, in my own healing process, and then guiding at this point hundreds, if not thousands, of women to their own truth, I've picked up on some things that really move the needle. And the truth is, it requires a lot of different modalities. So my work is very grounded in neuroscience, psychology, and energetics. And so this method that has 3 phases that I put together basically has pulled on everything I've learned and experienced as a helping professional, as a mother, as a woman, as a leader in the last 30 years. Okay. So I realized that a huge piece of my suffering was because I wasn't in the fullest expression of who I really am. And I was trying to be a certain type of leader or a certain type of mom while minimizing my actual gifts. And I told myself a lot of stories about my actual gifts, like they were too woo-woo or they were inappropriate and not professional enough and blah, 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 blah. Um, and so then it was like I was putting together this process. Okay, at the time, I didn't know I was putting a process together, but I tried so many different things. I mean, I've done almost every type of therapy. I've hired all of the coaches. I do energy work. I do somatic work. I've done hypnosis. I've done Reiki. I've read like so many beautiful books. I have listened to so many beautiful podcasts. I have certified myself in brain spotting and all sorts of things. And so I really started putting together like what actually helps people feel better. Because there isn't just one thing, right? There isn't one trick that makes you feel better. There isn't one therapy modality that solves all your problems. There isn't one person who can fix you. There isn't one medication. There isn't one supplement or change in your diet. It's a combination of things that through trial and error, we start to keep what actually serves us and ditch what doesn't. And so I created the unperfected method because it's what really helped me and it's what has now helped thousands of clients. But I also want to say, take what resonates and leave what doesn't, because this formula might not be the perfect formula for you. You are rare, you are unique, you are limited edition. Your physiology is one of a kind. Your mental and emotional life is one of a kind. Your lived experience, cultural backgrounds, one of a kind. So it's totally okay if what works for someone doesn't work for you. Unless nothing is working for you, then you got to understand there's a protective part that won't let anything work for you. Okay? So, here's the unperfected method based on my lived experience so far. It's 3 parts. Step number 1 is heal. Step number 2 is reveal. And step number 3 is rise. Okay? It used to be heal, become, and rise. Until in the last year, I've realized we're not necessarily becoming, we're more remembering who we really are. And so I will also continue to make tweaks to this methodology. Why? Because as I grow, as I learn new things, it's perfectly normal and healthy for me to make adjustments in my beliefs, in what I do and how I practice. So I also want to share that because maybe someone needed to hear that right now. Like, you don't need to be married to a belief system or a method for the rest of your life. As you grow, so does your work, so does your methodology. I also think it's really important to have a methodology. I spent probably the first 5 years being a therapist and coach, meeting my clients where they're at, which is perfect, and individually working them through some things. But there wasn't a framework. There was like a therapeutic orientation. But even with that, I would always pull on multiple therapeutic orientations. I would pull from psychodynamic and gestalt and solutions focus, and ACT. Those were kind of my go-to. But I didn't have like a frame, a structure. And what I've realized in the last several years is that having that frame, having that structure has been really helpful for me as a helper, but also for my clients who are joining our world and ready to do the work. And so when you come into our practice, into our business, into our world, something's up, right? You're not satisfied. You're not fulfilled. Something is off. But you don't know, maybe you do, but a lot of clients don't know why. A lot of clients come to us with severe anxiety and then shame themselves because they're like, well, I should be grateful for what I have. I have a paying job. I have a loving partner. I have children. And I'm like, well, first of all, we can always hold two truths or more at the same time. You can be grateful for all that you have while also knowing something is missing and taking action in your life to create that. In fact, I highly recommend you walk with both, right? So they come to us and they might feel lost. They might be having what feels like a midlife crisis, which is really just a midlife awakening. Or, they're in college or they're a new mom and they have something that's rocking their identity. And because of that, they're in the unknown. And because of that, their brain and their nervous system is really spinning a bunch of stories that may or may not be true. And so they come to us like, I'm actually doing pretty well if you on the outside. Like, you wouldn't guess the level of suffering that I go through. You wouldn't guess the endless talk that my mind tells me that's critical of me. You wouldn't guess that I have a drinking problem or a spending problem or I'm dissociating all the time. You wouldn't guess. So outside, they look like they have it all together, but under the hood, there's real suffering going on. And then they feel bad. So we don't want to feel bad. You're a human. You are a human. So step one is heal. Why is that critical to living a life unperfected? Which means messy and beautiful, which means true and authentic, which equals the highest frequency, but like unapologetically, all of you. Okay. So we've got to heal because the things that we experienced growing up in our lives told us stories about ourselves and what is safe and what is not. And we start making adjustments to our personality, to our authenticity, to the way that we express ourselves, to the way that we show up, the way that we hold ourselves, the way that we speak, the way that we connect and relate. We start making adjustments to fit this idea, this mold of what is a quote unquote good enough, good girl, good listener, because that translates in our system to safety, right? If you're doing well at school and your parents are praising you for that, that translates as safety and you're being lovable. If you're the best athlete on the team and your coach is giving you recognition, that translates to I'm accepted, I'm lovable, I'm good enough, I'm worthy, right? And so we start shape shifting right out of the gates, my loves. And before we know it, we are literally performing an act that isn't the truth of who we are. And there's no shame in this, guys, because we all do it. And we all still fall into that trap from time to time. So it's like, what are you seeing? What did you see your mother do or not do? And what are you seeing in your community and online? That is shaping your decisions and behaviors as a mother more than your own heart and values a lot of the time. Again, most of this is unconscious. We're not doing it on purpose. But the problem is, your babies need the most authentic version of you. The world needs the most authentic version of you. The most authentic version of you is the one that holds your destiny and holds the highest energetic frequency. The further away we are from our truth and authenticity, the more watered down our frequency is. And like energy attracts like energy. So if you're not in the truth of who you are, you're probably resonating with other folks that are also not in the truth of who they are, right? And so we have to heal. We have to heal the trauma that's stuck in our body, because that usually decides how we show up in relationships. Like, think about, attachment styles, is a great example of this. It's like what we learned about relationships growing up shapes who we pick as a partner, whether we like it or not. We usually pick a partner to complete unfinished business that we had with our parents growing up. And it affects like how safe we feel to show up in the fullness of who we are, how safe we feel to put ourselves out there, how safe we feel to be vulnerable. It also affects our conflict management. It affects our courage professionally. And so as we go through these lived experiences, we build these protective, adaptive mechanisms to survive, to fit in, to be loved, to be accepted, to be desirable, that sometimes are not actually in alignment with who you really are. And so the healing portion is so important, because a lot of us in our inauthenticity are being a guarded version of ourselves, a version of ourselves that we thought would be not too much, not too loud, not too whatever, right? And so when we heal, number one, we got to move the trauma out of our bodies. We got to move the stuck emotion and energy out of our bodies, because that affects every single aspect of us. Stuck emotion and stuck trauma in the body inhibits you. No, inhibits isn't the word I want to use. Prevents you from hearing your own truth intuitively. So we all have this beautiful inner guidance system, our hearts and our intuition, that tell us yes and no, what we desire, what we don't, what feels good in our body, what doesn't, how we want to show up, who we are. But when we are walking around totally constipated with stuck and repressed emotion and trauma, we're fully disconnected from that truth. So we have to, what I say in the business, declutter the gutter. We got to wash out the stuck emotion. We got to move the stuck trauma so that we can open our vessel and start to communicate with our body again and start to hear her wisdom. Her wisdom, how do I want to say this? Your wisdom comes from within, but yet so many of us are looking to the experts outside of ourselves to teach us who we are and what we should and shouldn't do. But you already know who you are. You already know what you're a yes for. It's just buried under society's bullshit. It's just buried under the cultural conditioning. It's just buried under the trauma responses and the shape shifting that you did to fit in. That is literally how we create protective parts, right? So I've been teaching you guys a lot about that. Your perfectionism is a protective part. You developed it to keep you safe. It's not all of you, though. That's the good news. Your truth, your authenticity, your heart, your spirit, your soul, or yourself with a capital S, that part of you is so much bigger than your trauma, than your protective parts, than your roles and responsibilities, than your adaptations. Okay? So we need to heal so that we can get clear with who is underneath these masks, this pretending, this performing, these things that we've done. And by the way, like, it's such a level of intelligence that we have, that we develop these protective parts that learn, like, oh yeah, if I'm perfect, I'll get love. If I'm perfect, I'm safe. Like, what a beautiful level of intelligence. But that protective part has been running your show, and no more. We want to be running our show from ourself with a capital S, our higher self. I call that in my body of work the inner CEO. The inner CEO needs to be making decisions for her life, leadership, business, family, creations from a place of truth, authenticity, wholeness, trust, faith, belief. But when the protective parts are running the show, we're not connected to that faith. We're not connected to that belief in self. We're not connected to our magic. We're running on fear fumes, honey. We're running on ego. So we have to heal so that we can actually unearth our truth that's buried inside. Who we really are, what we actually desire, what our gifts are. Okay? And so in our practice, the way that we heal is brain spotting and EMDR. So you guys know that we have the unperfected practice and we do counseling. So we got to move this trauma out of our heads and bodies, because the trauma is actually deciding how you show up in your marriage, how you parent your children, how you get along with your neighbors, how you lead your business, how you put yourself out there. And there are so many beautiful ways to heal trauma, but of all the ones that I've tried, EMDR and brain spotting paired with a somatic movement, hands down the most effective in my experience. Okay. So you start with the heal. And we're going to also teach you how to take care of your brain and body. We are also going to teach you how to reframe and challenge your thoughts. We're going to teach you how to process and metabolize emotions. We are going to get you familiar with yourself, your inner children, and your protective parts. We're going to help you understand where you're stepping outside of your authenticity to be safe. We're going to help you manage your anxiety so it's not running the show. So all of that is like such an essential step, you guys, in becoming and remembering the truth of who you are. Okay? The somatic practices that I absolutely love right now are breathwork and dance. But you can choose any one that speaks to you. I have found breath work, it moves stuff out of your body. And for me, so does dance. So it's like you're doing the brain spotting and you're doing the internal family systems work, and you're moving that shit out of your body, dancing once a week, girl, let's pop off. Let's get unconstipated together, shall we? And what's so beautiful, you guys, is as we start to heal, it starts to reveal the truth of who we are. So step 2 is reveal. It's the unearthing of your true self. It's the remembrance. Oh yeah, my inner child loved to dance, and she loved to create, and she loved to perform, and oh yeah, I actually do desire intimacy. It's just my protective parts that push people away because I'm so afraid of vulnerability, of closeness. But what I actually want is closeness. Oh yeah, I actually want to create this thing in the world. And if fear was managed properly, I could do it. Oh yeah, I don't want to be married anymore. Like whatever it is, the more you heal, the more you regulate your nervous system, the more you move the trauma and stuck emotion out of your body, the more you reveal the truth of who you are. And it will start bubbling up, honey. And here's the good news. It will start bubbling up, and you don't have to do anything about it right away. So I think a lot of people don't step into therapy because they actually don't want to hear the truth, because then they would have to do something about it. And that can really shake up your family system, your beliefs, your work. So I want to let you know that as you're healing, as little nuggets of your truth are beginning to emerge, honey, you don't have to turn your life upside down. You get to then decide, what piece of truth do I want to honor 1% more every single day? Now I'm just going to get curious about this truth. You don't have to take immediate action. You get to discern what is the best right action for you at that time. And you get to take as long as you want, you guys, to remember who you are and to step into the fullness of that. You get to take your entire life to write that song or write those books or join that team. You get to take your entire life. Like there's no time schedule. So let's take the pressure right off. And let's get ourselves healing so that we can at least connect to our intuition and to our bodies. Okay? So that reveal part of the unperfected method is remembering who we are, and it's also identity work. So your identity, who you believe yourself to be, lives in your subconscious and is driving 95% of your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and therefore outcomes and results. And so who you believe yourself to be is what is creating your lived experience, your reality. So if you believe that you're an unworthy of love person, that is affecting how you show up in relationships. If you believe that nothing good happens to people like you, that is affecting what's happening in your world. If you believe that you aren't smart, if you believe that things are hard, if you believe that you can't change, if you believe that you can't fill in the blank, then honey, that will be your lived experience. Because that belief about yourself, that identity is unconsciously driving 95% of you. So identity work is everything, guys. And so identity work is connecting to and building up that sense of self, the inner CEO. Like, who am I really when no one's listening? What are my values? What do I stand for? What are my standards? What do I believe in? What are my habits and patterns? Who is she? We got to dust her off, baby. Dust her off. Who is Brooke Jean before the world told her who she should be? Who is Brooke Jean before something happened in her life that made her feel shame and that she was unworthy and unlovable? Who is Brooke Jean when she connects to that truth of who she is the minute she was born? Every single one of us is so freaking special, rare, unique, one of a kind, limited edition. We just need to remember it. And so when you upgrade your identity to, I am a woman who believes in herself, I am a woman who gets what she wants, I am a woman who leads with her heart open, I am a woman who is fearless in business, I am a woman who has intimacy in her relationships, that is 100% going to change how you show up. And then you're going to have different outcomes. Okay. So step 1 is heal. Step 2 is reveal. And then from that place, honey, this is where it starts to get juicy. From the place of truth, from the place of remembering who you freaking are and the magical unicorn that is you. From that knowing, that's where we rise, which is step 3. And when I speak about rise, what I mean is energetically, we start to raise our frequency and raise our vibration because we're doing the healing work. We're remembering who we are. That's building our inherent self-worth and confidence. Because of that, we're showing up more. We're playing all out. We're going in or going home. And we have an unshakable confidence about us. That raises your frequency, honey. And now you're playing in a new realm in the field. Now you're hanging out with people who also vibrate at that frequency. And here's where different opportunities begin to find you because you're walking around heart open, grounded as hell in the truth of who you are. What a beautiful thing. And this is where we rise in our leadership. And this is where we rise in our team. And this is where we take bolder action. This is where we improve our relationships. Everything starts to get better when we are coming from a more centered place in the truth of who we are. So we do energy work, we do leadership coaching. This is where the business coaching comes in. This is where it's like, so who does this queen or what does this queen want? Oh, this queen doesn't want to work in corporate America. She wants to start her own business. Let's go. I can teach you how to do that. Oh, this queen wants to put, a podcast out into the world and use her voice to help humanity. Let's go. I can teach you how to do that. Oh, this queen wants to move and live in a different place or improve her relationships or change something about her physical appearance and then go pitch, a once in a lifetime opportunity. Go, baby. And so when I look at what really helps women transform so that they can create a life they actually love, it's that, babe. It's heal, reveal, and rise. Heal, reveal, and rise. And so if you come into one of our programs like Legend, that's the mastermind that I'm running right now. The next cohort will start end of January. So get in my world and get on the wait list for that. If you join a program like Legend, you're going to go through the entire method. Heal, reveal, and rise. But you can also come in as a counseling client and work on the heal part. You can come in as a coaching client because you've done the trauma healing and now you're ready to do the identity work and the frequency work. You can hire us to come into your business and teach about any of these things. We're obsessed with this work at Team Unperfected. And when you've seen it work for you and you've seen it work for countless people, it's one of the top joys of my life. When I see a woman wake the hell up and realize that she's been following all the rules and doing everything that she thought would make her feel good, when she finally gets so sick of that and she decides, No more. I am letting my heart guide me. I'm letting my values guide me. I am not playing small. I am putting my protectors back at their assigned seat at my table of life. And I am running the show from the bigness of who I really am. My heart, my intuition, my spirit, my soul, myself, my inner CEO. And at that point, baby, anything is possible. Truly. I believe that. It's not just like corny pep talk, motivation talk, right? So when I say online, I'm all about helping women create lives they actually love, there is some depth that comes to that. I mean, all the things I just mentioned in the heal, reveal, and rise processes or process, that's what's going to help you create. Not just one little shift, not just pretending, not just listening to one podcast, not just buying one book, one program. Guys, this is ongoing, which is why there's no timeline. You can heal. And I also wanted to say they're not necessarily linear. So you can be healing and revealing and rising simultaneously. Because the more you heal, the more you raise your frequency and the more clarity you get on who you are. But then you may have a big test, a big trigger that brings your awareness to a deep wound that you're now ready to heal. And so then you go there and you heal that. And then now that's adjusting your identity and that's adjusting how you show up in the world and that's adjusting your rise. You might be in the rise just doing your thing, queen, for 3 years. And then maybe you lose your job and it rocks your identity. Maybe your kids go to college and it rocks your identity. Maybe your partner asks for a divorce and it rocks your identity. So you get to come in wherever you are. And we meet you where you are, but we put you through the method. And you can start at any stage. But when I look at what actually helps women live lives they actually love from a place of enoughness, they got to do the healing work, dude. We got to do the inner work. The inner work determines our external reality. I'm going to say that again. The inner work creates our external reality. So if you hate yourself, my love, if you doubt yourself endlessly, if you question yourself to no end, if you are constantly berating yourself and judging yourself and speaking negative stuff in your head, how can you have a beautiful life? You can't. It doesn't matter how perfect your house is, how perfect your marriage is, how perfect your children are, that you lost the weight that you wanted to lose, it doesn't matter, babe. We have to go inward. Success, turns out, is actually an inside job. And so the good news is there's nothing more that you can do to get the success. It's all about who you're being. And are you being the truth of who you are, or are you being a watered down version because you think that that's digestible? So the weirdest thing about you is your $1 million money move. Ask me how I know. Every day I'm a therapist and I'm showing up online talking about things most therapists don't talk about, exposing things about me most people would be too embarrassed to do, telling my truth in a way that whatever. But what I've learned is I can either do it the authentic way, which will resonate with some and not resonate with others, but it will resonate with the people that are ready to be in their truth. Or I can keep being what I think is going to be good enough, what I think is going to be perfect, what I think is going to be successful. And that is like a never ending chase. Be you, babe. Be the youest you've ever been. That's what the world needs. The more authentic you are, the higher your frequency. The more real you are, the higher your energy is. And that matters because like energy attracts like energy, and energy resonates with energy. And so if you're not being you, you're going to attract people in your world that aren't a perfect match for the real you. And I don't know about you, but I want clients and opportunities and friends and people in my life that are actually a match for the real me. And this is why marriage is so hard. It's like the me that I met, the me that my husband met 22 years ago wasn't the fullest expression of the real me. Now, there were some core things that you could just never take away in my personality and in my being, which is, I love to be silly and playful, and I love to make people laugh, and I love to go hard for the things that I love. And I am a hard worker, and I'm passionate, and I'm loud and annoying, and I have a nasally voice, and I love to dance and sing. And, I love to raise the frequency of any room that I'm in. And because I hadn't done the healing work, I wasn't in the fullness of who I am. And so as you grow and as you do the heal, reveal, and rising work, you got to bring your partner along with you and encourage their truth. And I think it's the couples that get to treat that as an epic journey instead of oh, you changed and you're different and you used to like this, but you don't like to do that. Couples that can stay open to their and each other's and the marriage's growth and evolution over a lifetime have a better shot. But we got to bring them with us. And again, we do things in small baby steps. We don't just one day you're this and the next day you're something completely different and expect everybody to feel safe and good with that. No, we slowly make shifts that are more in alignment, and we communicate as we go. And I would be so happy to teach you all of these things if you want to learn more and you want to start this journey. So we have put so much intention into our programs and the way that we serve the community. So whether you are wanting counseling, whether you're wanting coaching, whether you're wanting to join a program, you want to figure out what your leadership style is, you want to figure out your intimacy ways, you want to do identity work, you want to heal your trauma, you want to move things out of your body, you want to find your spark again, your joy again. All of that is welcome here. And what you'll do is you'll sign up for a free consultation, and whether you're working with Megan or myself, we get to know you in that free consultation, and based on what you want and what you've shared with us, well, then we tell you what we think is the best fit for you at this juncture. So if you are a woman who is ready to step into the truth of who she is so that she can elevate in life, leadership, and relationships, baby, join our world. The unperfected movement is just getting started. But when one woman comes home to herself and turns her light on and starts to parent and live and lead from her heart, her intuition, the truth of who she is, guys, this will change the freaking planet. I believe that. Women fully embodied in their truth, their authenticity, their purpose, and their power will create things like we've never seen before, will solve problems that we haven't been able to crack before, will hold spaces in our community for people to come together, will collaborate and create at levels that just haven't existed. So that's why it's so important to me. All right, guys, that's enough. I've been spitting at you long enough. It's only because I'm passionate. I love you so much. Take care of yourselves and there for each other. And if you're ready for your unperfected journey, get on our calendar for a free consult. See you soon. Hey babe, if you made it this far, I know you're serious about taking action and creating a life you actually love. Just by showing up, you're telling yourself and the universe, I matter. I'm ready. Let's go. So don't be surprised if things start shifting in your favor. If this episode moved you, do me a favor. Follow, rate, and review the show on Apple or Spotify, and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Brooke Jean Unperfected. It helps us reach more women, more mamas who are ready to do this work. And if something really landed, DM me on Instagram at Brooke Jean Unperfected or share a clip and tag me. I want to see what's moving through you and continue to support your journey. And hey, make sure you download my free guide, Get Unstuck. 5 therapeutic steps to take aligned action. All the links are in the show notes, and let's get you moving.